Hey, my name's Luke Boswell. For my senior project, I did welding, and my research paper, I did welding in the automotive industry, and I did manual welding versus robotic welding. I compared cost, efficiency, and those were the main two, and then just the differences in what's causing more and more companies to switch to robotic welding over manual welding, which has been used for so many years. A few of those simply that robots don't have to take breaks, vacations, they don't have to have insurance, and all these things, of course, cost companies money. So by switching to robots, these companies are saving thousands and thousands. And those robots are very expensive. They can typically be anywhere from $50,000 to just over $200,000. But within simply a year, depending on the size of the company, the non-stop work of that robot and the extra amount of product it can produce can actually pay for itself and actually make money. So, and then for the physical part of my project, I actually learned how to weld and enjoyed it very much. I first started, I contacted one of my dad's past clients, Bonnie Jones, who works for D&D Mechanical, which pretty much custom fabrication. They do duct work. Mainly they specialize in duct work, but they can do pretty much anything. And I actually once I told him what I wanted to do for my project and everything. He's happy to help me. I first started, I went to a shop at D&D Mechanical, and a few days after school, and watched him weld. And we also, after watching him weld, and discussing the safety precautions, which before I went and watched him weld, I had to you gotta get thick jeans, steel-toed boots, and he actually had an extra flame retardant shirt to keep, so when the sparks are coming off the weld that it actually doesn't burn your skin. And then you have to have your shield because the UV light off that weld can actually burn your retinas, and they'll actually sting really bad. So yeah, I got all that. And then once I continuously watched him, he was actually we met again at the shop at his house, and we welded. He started showing me how, simply from hooking up the welder to actually what he did, which was what you call striking off, which is I did stick welding. That's the most basic and common type that you learn. And with stick welding, you ground it, and then you have the other one that holds a stick, and you literally strike it against the metal, and it starts the weld, or it starts it to burn, and you put it on the spots you want to weld together, and you move it slowly back and forth, and you start a bead, or you get it to puddle and you move it back and forth, but not leaving it there too long, because if you leave it there too long, it'll actually stick and melt to the metal, and then it's really hard to get off. So, and then after that, after watching him enough, I actually learned how to weld, or I actually started welding. And with starting to weld, I first made sure I had all my safety gear on, gloves. Then I actually striked off myself. At first, one of the most difficult things, personally, I thought, was just the whole process of the coordination and how fast and swiftly you didn't really have time to think about it. You just had to get to the point where you could do it. And at first I was thinking about it where you just strike. Once you strike off, you can't, once it slides across the metal and it starts to burn, you can't just hold it somewhere. You have to steadily move it back and forth. And once I got that down, it was pretty easy. I just continued practicing on scrap metal until the point where I felt comfortable I could lay down a consistent solid weld And then the next time we met, once we picked out the design of my flower pot holder, we actually began on it. For my project, everything was recycled. I used like a metal, I guess it was a pie pan he had, and then I used 3 pieces of rebar that were bent at the bottom with 90-degree angles for the legs of the pot. And then I used one of my dad's extra real estate signs, and I cut that up with a grinder. And after measured, and then once we cleaned everything up, welded a V-shaped piece across the bottom for extra support to hold the flower pot steady. And then we welded just triangular brace, since there's 3 legs, so each leg has 2 supports on each side, and it's very sturdy that way. And then I used degreaser and steel wool after it cooled off and scrubbed it really well, and got any loose dust, debris, any rust or anything, and made sure I loosened it up. And then I used a primer and sprayed it with 2 coats just to make sure it was well covered. And then around the bottom I drilled holes in it for drainage for the flower pot itself. And then once I did that, I laid down my final coat of higher gloss, and that's pretty much what I did for my project.